Porto kick-off. They're trying to end a run now that's extended to 6 defeats in a row in their pre-season build-up. Hardly the sort of start that you want, but rehearsals aren't the same as the real thing, of course. Undoubtedly, though, they'd like to break that sequence, but it will be difficult against Dynamo Kiev, who are in their season, and one would expect them to be fitter, playing 2 games in 2 days. And you can see the divots that are coming up with the first tackles of the second day of the tournament. Really heavy shower about half an hour before the kickoff. And it certainly left the turf saturated and vulnerable for the studs. Litovchenko trying to use the pace, the exceptional pace of Belanov, but Paulo Pereira wasn't lacking. And he's played well to Maggio, who screened it for Pingo, and here come Porto, and already there's an encouraging open field to this match for 3rd and 4th places. Porto were pretty pleased with the way they played, but Dynamo Kiev still feeling aggrieved about the decision of yesterday's referee, one of today's linesmen, Neil Midgley, to award Liverpool a penalty at a crucial stage. Zayets, and Bal operating as the sweeper. He has been around a long time in the Dynamo Kiev ranks. Not always these days a first-choice player. Kuznetsov, the controlling influence too. Rats. This is Besanov. All familiar names to students of the world of international football. Back in '77, Besanov here was voted the most promising youth player in the world. The first World Youth Tournament. The second winner of that accolade was Diego Maradona, so that's the sort of company you can bracket him in. De Mol concedes a corner rather nervily. Stuck out a leg to no purpose at all towards the end of the first half against Arsenal. That was volleyed behind to give Dynamo Kiev a corner. Kuznetsov going towards the near post, but it's met by Jaime Magalhaes. Vasily Rats to take the throw. Still transfer talk that he might come to play in England for the new season. He is available. I know in the past Trevor Francis was an admirer of Vasily Rats. Indeed, the two, as far as language barriers will permit, became quite good friends during the European Championship. Aston Villa is another club I've heard mentioned in connection with Rats. John Pinto with a throw. Magalhaes turning into trouble, but it's Porto's throw. I'm sure the players will appreciate the drop in temperature. It's a much fresher day. And it really sets up the final later on. This is Luzhny. Kuznetsov pressed by Maggio. Zhitkov rolling the ball quickly to Bal. Magalhaes winning it back for Porto. Maybe they can spring forward here. Kuznetsov, though, read the danger signs. Alexander Zhitkov taking over from Viktor Chanov, who had an excellent game against Liverpool Besanov. Luzhny has got Belanov to his right, and it's not a bad effort from Oleg Luzhny. He just got himself a regular place in the Soviet Union international side. And in the end, Belanov to the right was used as a decoy, and Luzhny was able to stride on, and then in the end fire his shot just beyond that far post. Paulo Pereira. Maja. That was Andre stepping in to boot the ball out of play. That anchor role in midfield. Done well for Porto down the years, and also for Portugal. It's a little late that time on Litovchenko, and it's nice to see a hand of apology just extended as the play went on. Andre knew he was wrong in his judgment in going for that one. Luzhny. Carried here by Jorge Couto, one of the promising Porto young brigade. He did well against Arsenal, up and down the left-hand side. But this is Litovchenko with some nice play through the centre for Dynamo Kiev. From Chelskis. Retrieved by Litovchenko, who started it all off from midfield. It was a little flick there from Zayat. It almost worked, with a lot of players forward for the Soviet side. They really sensed the moment to go then, once Litovchenko had made room for himself cleverly in midfield. Here's Demol. Now Pinto. Kuznetsov, not just conspicuous because of that shock of fair curly hair, also because of his great skill as an orchestrator and a defender really in the midfield area. Did so well in the European Championships and then was suspended from the final against Holland, and that didn't really recover. Although you might remember they off. Missed it. He's out here playing for Dynamo Kiev today. Might be worth recalling if it comes to a penalty shootout at the end of this match for third and fourth place. Besanov. Litovchenko, but broken up by Paulo Pereira. One Brazilian finding another, Pingo. And here's the Algerian striker, Maja. Play on, says Keith Hackett. Maja not too impressed about that. Litovchenko let it run, and, well, Andre tried to take it on the chest, but an upper arm was spotted by Keith Hackett, who was very well placed to make that decision. But Dynamo Kiev could make no progress from the quickly taken free kick towards Belanov. Really a different style of game here to what we would expect to see on Saturday afternoons up and down the English League. Both sides playing really with one out-and-out forward and packing the midfield and letting players bring on from deeper positions, as Jorge Couto was trying to do then. Luzhny. He's had the one real strike at goal so far. Vitor Bayer played so well against Arsenal. 19-year-old goalkeeper looking to establish himself as Porto's #1. Luzhny. foul. And now Rats. Well, Vasily Rats had an unhappy time with his move to Spain. He was going to go to Espanyol, who were relegated. And, Rats decided he didn't want to play second division football in Spain. Dynamo Kiev, at least in the short term, glad to have him back. But there's a mistake by Zayat, taken on by Pingo. He's got Maja to the left, and Jaime Magalhaes was in a good position to the right. There was a hand stuck out by Zayat, and Porto have a free kick. Minutes gone, and maybe the first test for Alexander Zhitkov. Soviet wall looks a strong one. It's Pingo, and it's into the wall, which stood firm and did its job. Jaime Magalhaes. Was he impeded by Rats then? I think he might have been. Neil Midgley waved the flag though, he was right on the spot. Demol, Andre, Jean Pinto trying to increase the attacking options for Porto. Charging forward from right back, he's got to backpedal now. Demol. Stelmack, the caught short that time. Marito, Jaime Magalhaes, Madja's in the centre, and so too the long arms of Zhitkov. He made the catch look nonchalant. Paulo Pereira, George Koto to the left, infield is Pingo, Belanov got a foot in, but Konchelskis couldn't do the same. Paulo Pereira, that's a pretty hopeful one. He'll be wondering about the news from Venezuela tonight, where his twin brother Silas is in the Brazil squad for a World Cup qualifier. Luzhny. Besanov. Gets it back again from Rats. Porto retreat en bloc, but don't mark too well. Konchelski's given room to turn and find Luzhny. Besanov is right in there. And, wasn't quite sure, I don't think, what he was going to do with his header. It drops though for Litovchenko, and Besanov was on his way back from an offside position. Konchelski's operating down the right-hand side for Dynamo Kiev. The club from the Ukraine, short of some of their most potent goal-scoring power. Protasov and Mikhailichenko left behind because of injuries. And that's really looked to be a problem in this tournament. They're still looking for their first goal. So to our Porto. Luzhny. Rats quite prepared to come deep. There's a circular movement to the way they operate off the ball. Porto fits and starts looking quite dangerous. But this is Besanov. Rats. Because nets off, and the flag has stayed down. Konchelskis, helped by the wet top, will keep the ball in. Hit Banderinia, the shot into the side netting from Zayat. Porto were hoping for offside to helped them initially then. Konchelskis, though, was allowed to go on. And it deflected off Banderinia, spinning into the shot Zayats. Belanov. Kovchenko trying to clip it back towards Belanov. Stelmak can't win it back for Dynamo Kiev. And here's Marito, who caught the eye against Arsenal. Really had the best chance to equalise too. Porto found John Lukic in inspired form. Pingo. John Pinto. Zayats. Now Luzhny. George Koto working hard to stop Dynamo Kiev making any progress from this position. Has to go back. Porto look to push out. Stelmak, and that's good defending as a group by Porto. And Dynamo Kiev have to start again from deep. Now Marito changed direction with all the advantage there of a short man with a low centre of gravity. Demol. It's Porto's turn to be pressed back by the running of Besanov. Well, it's interesting in a tactical sense, but I think the Wembley crowd are hoping for slightly more action around the goal mouths. Andre. George Graham, his Arsenal fans watching here, as George Graham said yesterday, it's a learning process looking at the continental game and the different approach, and we're starved of that, of course, at major competitive level by the UEFA ban. Jaime Magalhaes. John Pinto. Here's Pingo, taken up by Andre. And now Paulo Pereira. Pingo, keeping the ball the object of the exercise, trying to just find the one glimmer of a gap that might lead to a goal. John Pinto. And Dynamo Kiev are expert on the counter-attack and may have an opportunity to show their faces here with Stelmak. Besanov herring ahead of him, and Jean Pinto had the alarm bells ringing as well. And Mikhail Stelmak is brought down. Zayats, well, it's sat up for the shot. And it just flicked away for a corner. Kovchenko making his way to take it. Coming up to the 20-minute mark. Zayats, the number 10. Konchelskis, number 9. Belanov going towards the near post. Oh, and the goalkeeper missed it, and so did everybody else, particularly Konchelskis. Well, the inexperience of Vitor Bayer rather betrayed here. He went for it, got nowhere near it, but did deceive Konchelskis coming in behind him. There's a run on through to Zhitkov. Jaime Magalhaes. Oh, and that was a shove on Maggio by Kuznetsov. In fact, Keith Hackett was playing an advantage then, and it nearly worked for Porto. João Pinto with the cross. Pingo well forward. Booted away by Kuznetsov. Belanov has to fight for so much up there on his own. But almost the sort of service that he thrives on in a one-on-one situation there as Ivkonchenko towed it in. Andre. Jaime Magalhaes. Pinto with the throw. Marito. Maggio wants it into feet. Knocked it off sweetly to Pingo. Marito involved again. He started it wide on the right and then quickly got into the centre. Touch from Jorge Couto. Bandeirinha. Not quite wet enough for Pingo. I think the ball would hold up then. Stelmach. Kuznetsov. Litovchenko. Konchelskis. Again, very crowded in midfield. Luzhny. Well, Vitor Bayer, at 19, is keeping out a very experienced number 2, Josef Młynarczyk, Polish international of bygone days. In fact, Gary Lineker put a hat-trick past him in the World Cup in Mexico. Zayas. Foul. Luzhny. Jorge Couto got a foot in. Belanov hoping for one or two options from the throw, which a little late arriving, and in the end he doesn't fancy taking it himself. Leaves it for Luzhny. Rats. Porto come out in a line, hoping to work the offside again, but it doesn't happen this time. Stelmach held his position well. Besanov. But this time the flag is up, not against Konchelskis, but Vasily Rats, who stayed in the centre. Jaime Magalhaes. Intercepted, though, by Besanov, and he was obstructed by Magalhaes. Very inscrutable character, Vladimir Besanov. A lot of problems down the years with injuries. He's always been there with the Soviet Union and Dynamo Kiev on the big occasion. Vitor has come a long way and had to go for the ball when it was off the ground. Won a throw, doesn't want it to be taken too quickly. That's understandable. If it might be illegal in that situation. It's going to be a throw. And Luzhny thought it was a tackle of a dangerous nature. He might have had a case then. This is Konchelskis. And that's a dive. wet landing. Besanov from Chelskis. All the way back, though, to Luzhny. Dynamo Kiev and the Soviet Union, both coached, of course, by Valery Lobanovsky. So there's such a similarity in style, indeed a similarity often in personnel. They don't really change their play too often. That might just suit Porto here. They could be embarrassed at fitness levels against the Soviet side, which is in full working order in their regular season. Jean Pinto, Marito, and Kuznetsov in the right place, but the header goes straight back to Marito. Jaime Magalhaes tries to influence the referee with another dive. Kuznetsov, well, Porto, who gave away an own goal against Arsenal, were nearly the recipients then. Kuznetsov in this sequence very much in the firing line. And it came off the knee and flew away behind the goal. He's not easily ruffled, but that was an awkward moment for the player with 41 caps for his country. Corner works short. Pingo. And Madja, well, there was obstruction there by Kuznetsov. And in the context of the penalty that was given by Neil Midgley yesterday, Packet not taking such a strict line, shall we say. Konchelskis. That's a corner. Again, Porto not happy with the referee. Vasily Rats to take the corner. And Belanov very nearly met it at the near post. Paulo Pereira just had the height advantage. And it was whipped in towards the near post by that skillful left foot of Rats. Porto looking alert to cover that danger area as Rats has another attempt. Time it's Besanov making a move. Belanov stays on the far side, patted down by Victor Bayer, met first time by Luzhny. Andre. Demont. Andre. Not too many offsides at this end of the field anyway. A lot of depth to the way Dynamo Kiev are defending. Stelmach. Bow. A great distance for Belanov to chase. Belanov and Stefan de Mol were in direct opposition in the World Cup of '86, of course, when both were scorers. De Mol got a goal for Belgium. Belanov got 3 for the Soviet Union, but ended up on the losing side. Litovchenko slices that attempt. Clouds gathering again. I wonder if we're in for another of those downpours that happened just before the game. Andre. talk about drugs in sport these days, and it was interesting standing outside the Dynamo Kiev dressing room to see what they asked for from the Wembley authorities, and heaps of black coffee was the message. So, can't be too much wrong with caffeine. It's a stimulant. Rats. Foul. Now Lushny. Paulo Pereira has been really the master for much of this first half. He's got the speed to get himself out of difficulties. The leggy Brazilian. Andre, who's more of a chugger in midfield, was caught and passed by Belanov, but Belanov fouled him. Pingo. Marito. Pingo, but Maggio was wrong-footed and no chance of changing direction on the slippery surface. Which I would think is about to be slicked up even more. Forthcoming rain. Kuznetsov. Maja. That was a good short touch to Jaime Magalhaes. He's got two to the right. Maja is one of them. Jean Pinto the other. The flick from Jaime Magalhaes, well anticipated by Bal. Litovchenko, oh, and that was a very close decision. Very close indeed, because De Mol stepped up. But Alan Gunn raised the flag. And I think Belanov had a case then. Very close. And he takes some catching if he gets away in that situation. Kuznetsov. Litovchenko. Mourinho will want to plot the course of this, and he does. With Belanov lurking behind him. Andre. Pesanov. Kiev doing their work off the ball again. Trying to draw Porto out of position. They haven't been too keen on getting caught that way. They've been diligent, and here comes the rain. Bal. A little give and go to himself. Well read by Vitor Bea. And it's gone very gloomy here indeed, as the summer downpour makes conditions pretty unpleasant for watching. Not too good for playing. Besanov. Certainly used to extremes of climate in the Ukraine. Sure, Porto would like it a little bit warmer than this. George Koto helped on, in fact, by Andre in the end. He's had a trip by Pingo, rather, by Litovchenko it is. Andre. Not too much fun down on the benches either, where the waterproofing's coming out. Well, in tropical England, you don't expect this sort of weather, do you? He looks as though he's been caught out. Litovchenko. And again. And Zayats. This could be the first goal. Well, Banderino dispossessed him fairly. Everybody had a long, hard look at the referee then. And the crowd aren't happy. I think, to be fair to Keith Hackett, they would like to see a goal, no matter how it would come. Banderino got the ball back for Porto in the most crucial of situations here by barging into Zayats, and for my money, that should have been a penalty. The player needing some treatment is Jaime Magalhaes, the Soviet Union bench. Romanovsky, as always, impassive, but they weren't too happy, I'm sure you gathered, with the decision that went against them yesterday in the Liverpool game, when Liverpool got a penalty and scored, and now when maybe the balance would have been evened up. Didn't happen again. Banderino. George Koto, Maggio waiting at the far post. Oh, and the goalkeeper's in trouble and survives. There's an adventure off his line by Zhitkov, and he only flapped at it. It looked as though he was trying to catch it with one hand, which isn't the easiest thing when the ball's as greasy as it is now. Jaime Magalhaes. The Porto throw. 7 minutes to go in the first half. João Pinto. Pingo. Marito might be in need of treatment. Foul by the apologetic Zayats. Maybe his blood was still running high after the penalty incident. Zhitkov had an alarming moment when George Koto got in a teasing cross. It was Besanov who rescued Dynamo Kiev. João Pinto with the free kick. Chelskis get too far. And this is George Koto. It's a great run. A player of real potential, and Maggio, the old hand, shows his appreciation. 19-year-old attacking midfielder, really, with a persistent streak to his play too. He took on in numbers Dynamo Kiev then, and that was very close. George Koto. Stelmach. All the way back to Kuznetsov. Foul. Besanov takes the sensible course. I shouldn't think he could see too much at the moment, with the rain slanting down into his eyes. Difficult for goalkeepers. Well, that's clever play by Stelmach. Besanov. It's a good cross this time for Dynamo Kiev. It will come for Belanov. It was an attempt, really, I think, to hook the ball across the face of the goal. Well, excellent shoot. It was never easy. For a former European Footballer of the Year, the expectations are always high. Pingo suddenly finding some space. Came on as a substitute for the second half against Arsenal and helped pep up a much better Porto performance after the break. Andre. This is Rats. Besanov. Stelmak through to Litovchenko. Guided wide for Vasily Rats. Dynamo Kiev have got 4 in the centre, but it wasn't one of Rats' best efforts. Kuznetsov adding his strength to the cause. Chelkis. Oh, that's a fine header by Belanov. Well claimed by Vitor Bea at full stretch. It was a cross that really came behind the former European Footballer of the Year, Belanov. He did very well to twist the neck muscles to get it on target. Section by Litovchenko, but it ran for Banderinia. Pingo. Majer. There are possibilities now for Besanov. He's got a long way to go, though. He has got a free kick. Maybe a slightly ironic clap in the hands of Besanov towards the referee. Well, Porto conceded a goal late in the first half against Arsenal. Are they going to be similarly vulnerable here against Dynamo Kiev? Touched off for Zayats, who was never set. And there's an inquest going on out there from the Dynamo Kiev players around those who were involved in the free kick. Vitor Bea wasn't troubled. Well, with a sponsor like Makita, you'd think they'd be into rain gear, but I can assure you they're not. And it's a bit damp down on the bench. Foul. Kuznetsov. Andre got in the way acrobatically. Tony Magalhaes. Paulo Pereira, and now Stefan de Mol. Using the full width of the pitch and beyond. Litovchenko. We're into stoppage time at the end of the first half. Paulo Pereira. Much of the first half staged in midfield, but Dynamo Kiev will feel that a refereeing decision has gone against them for the second game in a row at Wembley. Midgley awarded a penalty against them yesterday. Keith Hackett didn't award one for them here when Banderinia charged into the back of Zayats. So at half-time, in the match for third and fourth place, it's Porto 0, Dynamo Kiev 0.
The best of English soccer every Tuesday at 10 on Super Channel.
Dynamo Kiev get the second half underway. Porto have made 2 substitutions at half-time. They've brought on Kiki with the Ruud Gullit haircut and Domingos in place of Jaime Magalhaes and Madjer. And the sun comes out after a very damp first half. Konchelskis. Bandarinia hurt himself sliding in against Luzhny. Konchelskis, Luzhny having to turn. When these two countries met in that European Cup, these two sides rather met in the European Cup semi-final back in 1987. Porto won 2-1 at home. Everyone expected them to get beaten away, and they won 2-1 in Kiev as well to really establish their credentials. Pingo on the receiving end from Luzhny. Really here we've got Porto rebuilding their side and Dynamo Kiev a little below strength because of injuries from their regular season, which is going on at the moment. The two clubs have looked pretty well matched in the context of this tournament.
Players coming off, number 7, Garland, number 8, Litovchenko.
Belanov had made his run, but was offside, and coming from a deeper position was Konchelskis. Here's Kiki, 27-year-old midfield player. Domingos, who's got a lot of potential in his game as well. He's been capped for Portugal at full international level. He's only 20. Maybe the changes can work for Porto in the second half, but they've got to be aware of the strength of Dynamo Kiev and their fitness as well, which should be the best, in truth, of all 4 of the clubs participating over this weekend. Rats. Zayets, away by Jean Pinto. There's a confident touch by Kuznetsov to Luzhny. Konchelskis, that's good play from him, and good pace too, and penetration. Well, the ground's beginning to fill up now, and the crowd, as it increases, giving a little bit more support to this game for 3rd and 4th place. Rats with the corner. Dynamo Kiev really haven't got anybody to attack the ball in what you might call a British sense from the set plays. Pingo. Pressing from Kiev by Luzhny and Rats. It's led to a free kick. Andre, Kiki, and Bandarinia. Pingo's set off on a run down the touchline. That was George Koto who gave it away. Here's Rats back on his left-hand side beat. Belanov. Belanov and Damol renewing hostilities, and it's a free kick to Dynamo Kiev. Zayats. It's gone to the far post. Besanov is right in there as well. It's all the way out to Luzhny. Half thought about going round the outside. That avenue was blocked off to him, and he lost possession to Pingo. Porto with an opportunity to break, which they waste totally. Mistake by Georges Koto. And that was a fortunate ricochet that's rolled the ball the way of Litovchenko. That's a useful curler. He's an excellent striker of the ball from long range. And this was an innovative effort that very nearly got its due reward. Pingo. Paulo Pereira. Kiki. João Pinto. Just inside by Stelmach, but he's away from him. Georges Koto. Zayats. Very confident on the ball, but he's not solved his difficulties as yet. Now Bal is there to help out. And a nice accurate pass to Stelmach. And here's Besanov. Luzhny. Stopped in his tracks by Georges Koto. He did that quite often when Arsenal were looking to build down their right. Kiki. Not much on for him. Pingo. Vanderinia's gone to the left. Pingo trying to forge a path through the centre. With help from Georges Koto. And it's a push by the young Portuguese on Luzhny. Tovchenko. Inviting pass, but Jamal has got the longer stride and beat Rats to it. Well, there's prestige at stake here, and an opportunity for one of these two sides to leave this tournament with a victory. Still 0-0. Banderinia. Paulo Pereira. João Pinto. European teams concentrate so much on keeping possession. And there isn't perhaps the breakneck pace of the British game, but there is pace used with plenty of thought when the moment is right, and Stelmach was trying to do just that then. Free kick to Dynamo Kiev. 8 minutes gone in the second half. Kuznetsov. Besanov. Plenty of height to the clearance, but not much distance or direction. Kuznetsov steps in. Rats. Switching the point of attack to Luzhny. And Pingo was a little unlucky then. He was a whisker away from winning the ball cleanly. Free kick has gone against him, and Pingo's got hurt. Litovchenko's free kick. The ball still played in front of the massed ranks of Porto's defending. Stelmach. Kept the shot down well, but it was comfortable save for Vitor Bea. Might just be considering bringing the firing line in a penalty shootout. Kiki. Stopped by Besanov. Now maybe Porto will be caught turning here by Dynamo Kiev. Litovchenko. He's hit the target from there before, but not a shot to cheer the Wembley crowd. Kiki. Andre. Tackled by Luzhny was a good one. And, he's angry with George Koto. Rats. Stelmach. Still being knocked around the midfield. Just occasionally a hint of a penetrating pass and a run from Konchelskis. Now, that was another cynical piece of defending. And it was Banderinia, who was a defender involved in the penalty incident, who abruptly stopped the progress of Konchelskis then. Keith Hackett viewed it all from a distance. Litovchenko trying to exact some retribution from the free kick, and indeed it's Konchelskis who deserved to be the scorer, having earned the free kick, and Dynamo Kiev have broken through. 11 minutes into the second half. Litovchenko, accuracy itself from the free kick. Konchelskis unmarked, and the header sped into the corner. And after that bad foul by Banderinia, Porto can hardly complain.
Number 9, Konchelskis.
Konchelskis, who was a substitute against Liverpool, on from the start against Porto, and a Wembley goal to tuck away in his memories. And I think the smart money would have been on Dynamo Kiev to push on in the second half. Valery Lobanovsky prepares his teams so skillfully for club and for country. And he might be looking at another win here. The Mol. So Porto now have got to gamble even more. Here's Pingo. Litovchenko. Paulo Pereira. Andre. De Mol. Now Stelmach, there's a pass on here for Rats, and he's executed it well enough. Stelmach. Vasily Rats. Well, Vitor Bea had a good look around him as the ball was arriving. He wasn't in danger unless the ball went in directly. There were no Kiev players close enough. We had that one possibility covered. Not without a little flutter of the heart, though. Andre. Porto, 6 defeats in a row in pre-season and looking down the barrel of number 7. Paolo on George Koto. Free kick taken well away from where the incident took place, but Keith Hackett applying the spirit of the law, and charge off his line by Zhitkov. That could have been very costly indeed. I think the only person who might have enjoyed seeing that was the number 1 Kiev goalkeeper, Shanov. His place might not be threatened by such an impulsive goalkeeper as Zhitkov looked on that occasion. Waved it goodbye. Rats. Kuznetsov. It's good to see Dynamo Kiev knock the ball about as they can. They really do have a rich tradition now for fine and successful football. They've been good ambassadors for the Soviet Union. Winners twice of the Cup Winners' Cup. Rats. Besanov. Real aficionados who've come to this tournament will enjoy the skill that Kiev have shown on the ball and in their passing. And football fans who come out in July really are aficionados. Pingo. Besanov's tackle. Pingo got a foot to it again. Gianpaolo. And well read by Luzhny. You have to say these players playing their second game in 24 hours, they've kept the pace of the game up well. Litovchenko. Stelmach. Belanov in the middle. Joined by Litovchenko. And Stelmach thinks he's won a corner. Keith Hackett is about to disillusion him. What can I say? Whatever he could say, I don't think Keith Hackett would understand it. George Koto. Kuznetsov. Pingo. Oh, it's a back header there from Domingos that, had it just been a little firmer, might have got Banderina away. And really, with Banderina's free kick leading to the goal, I suppose that cancels out, is clear to my mind, penalty offence that wasn't punished in the first half. He was punished for a foul in the second half, and Dynamo Kiev got their only goal from that episode. Their only goal so far. Paulo Pereira. Konchelskis, who's had a good match apart from the goal. That's Belanov is offside in the middle. He's not the player with the ball. That's Besanov. Neil Midgley really had no alternative that time. Belanov was certainly interfering with play. You see the advertising on the Dynamo Kiev shirt. That's a new thing in Soviet football. George Koto trying to take on Luzhny. It hasn't given him much change, in truth. Besanov. Back from Kuznetsov. Artur Jorge, the Porto coach on the left of the bench, has quite a bit to do to get his team right for the start of the Portuguese league season, which is the same weekend as the Football League season starts in this country. August the 19th. Kiki, rather impeded by the referee, Kuznetsov. Kiev go on to a tournament in Holland from here. And then they staged their own international tournament. The first time one has been staged in the Soviet Union, involving 2 Brazilian clubs and Roma from Italy. Somewhere in the middle of all that, they're sandwiching in their next league game. Domingos. With the first tackle, and then gets to the ball again. And here's Vasily Rats. Maybe 1 or 2 English managers keeping tabs on his progress. He certainly would be an acquisition at 28. In his prime, and left-sided midfield players hard to come by. Also fill in at left back, as he's doing now. Bow. Dovchenko. Banderina left his foot in again. Besanov, Lushny. Left it for Paulo Pereira to head across to Jean Pinto. Kiki. Now, can Marito keep this in? In fact, he, maybe more than some Porto players, has looked to be feeling the effects of 2 games in 2 days. Not the force he was against Arsenal, the little number 9. Rats. Stelmack's ahead of him down the touchline. It's a difficult pass to make, but Rats did it beautifully. Zayats with the shot. It's a swerver. Vitor Bayer wasn't taking any chances going for the clean catch. He wanted to knock it down. But it was this pass by Rats that was the jewel in the move, really. And then Zayats swung into the shot. Belanov, and he angled it to Kiki. Paulo Pereira. Kiki playing in midfield, but fairly deep. Goes on ahead of the ball this time to join Pingo. And Porto have got a few players forward, and Kuznetsov read the danger with typical authority. Rats. Got the ball really before Stelmack as the senior partner. Such a rock, Kuznetsov. He's available again if Besanov wants some help. So too is Bal. Just the one out-and-out attacker again, though, for Dynamo Kiev. They're trying to draw Porto out, make room in which to play. Marito. this is an interesting run, and he's got past Kuznetsov. Well, he would have done, but for the foul, which is not disputed by the culprit. Paulo Pereira has come forward, and De Mol, who's useful in the air. And it beat the two big centre-backs, almost dropped the way of Domingos. But again, Jitkov not really threatened. Plenty of space down on the Kiev bench. They only named 3 substitutes, although they brought a party of 18 players. George Koto. Pingo. He certainly hasn't accepted defeat here. Andre. The problem for Pingo and his teammates is to get these young forwards for Porto into the game with Madja off, like Domingos and Marito. Chances have been very scarce around the Dynamo Kiev goal. Rats. Stelmach. Kuznetsov, Belanov as ever through the centre. Options either side for Kuznetsov. Yeah, quite happy with the state of the game, really. They don't need to take any chances. They are closing in now on the prestige of a victory that will give them 3rd place in the tournament. And still some sympathy for the way they lost to Liverpool in their semi-final. Foot raised by Rats. Pinto trying to hurry things up. Kuznetsov, well, he went down. Little nudge by Domingos. Not spotted. It's a throw to Porto. Porto, who finished 7 points behind Benfica in the Portuguese League Championship, and are trying to nurture a new side for the new season. In danger now of losing a 7th consecutive warm-up game. They don't get a break there either. Well, João Pinto's tasted the heights by collecting the European Cup. Well, there's a much bigger crowd here for the latter stages of this game, with the final to come, of course, and a lot of the new arrivals wearing Arsenal favours. Back from Bal. George Koto played it under pressure, played it well to Kiki. Andre, Marito busy ahead of him. Domingos in the centre. Andre squeezes a pass through towards Marito. Bal, the sweeper, who's been very, very cool and unruffled. Doesn't really have to draw too much breath again. Problems for the commentators when Bal and Baltacha were both in the Kiev side. Of course, Baltacha now with Ipswich, who are touring Kiev at the moment. Besanov. Just a matter really here of Kiev's ambition as to whether they're looking for a second goal to make sure of the win. Always the chance of making a late mistake when the smallest one available. Fifteen minutes left. Mikhail, as I should say, Stelmak. Mikhail as in Gorbachev. Andre, Pingo. Pingo. Kiki. Pinto away to the right. Marito through the middle. They really have lacked thrust, though, Porto. Luzhny battling on well. Belanov going to the near post for the cross aimed there by Besanov. Luzhny is just limped to the touchline to get a bit of treatment as the throw is taken unfairly. Maybe another touch of the Wembley disease cramp. He's played in both games, so he might be feeling the strain. Oleg Luzhny. Checking what's going on, though, and whether there's any cover in his position. Maybe this is a moment for Porto to exploit the numerical disadvantage that Dynamo Kiev have. Although Luzhny is being waved back on now. He's not back in position yet. Cover is there from Konchelskis, who went in not really like a natural right back. Didn't get the ball, but Besanov, as ever, spotted the threat. Paulo Pereira, Kiki, Paulo Pereira again, De Mol heads it on, and Bal arrogantly dummies it back to the goalkeeper. Well, it was a venture upfield by Paulo Pereira, and really Porto might as well take a chance or two. Otherwise they're going to go away from this Makita international tournament with no points, no goals, no glory. Zayats. Played well by Domingos. Now Pinto, that was a shame. He could have got it back quickly. Marito, Kiki, Banderinia in space coming up from left back. Pingo had a look at him and then drove on towards goal and wasn't tripped. Well, he wasn't too pleased about the lack of the blast on the whistle then. Pinto. Domingos. I didn't even think it was a dive to win a penalty, he just lost his balance. And still they try and get the right ball through to Belanov. His shoulders are drooping a little bit now. Pingo with the back heel. Andre has worked hard in midfield. Kiki. De Mol. Marito trying to find some space in behind Rats. Pinto, it needs the early cross, and they got it in there towards George Koto. Now Pingo might try a shot, deflected off Luzhny. Konchelskis can clear, and Zayats will chase. Throw go to the Soviet side. George Koto, harassed by Luzhny and dispossessed by Konchelskis. Looks as though an activity on the bench. Albert Sarkisian, who's a defender. The free kick, exactly the same position, which Tovchenko opened the way for the only goal of the game. They'll have to wait for the change. They're going to take Stelmach off. And Sarkisian, who comes from Armenia and has, you might say, an Armenian look about him.
Substitution for Dynamo Kiev. Off comes number 5, Selma. On goes number 14, Sarkisian.
Tovchenko, after the delay, a lower free kick this time. Pinto. Porto still hunting the equaliser. Getting a bit more of the ball in midfield. Still looking for a decent opening to be created. Meanwhile, Dynamo Kiev are preparing to make their second permitted substitution. Tovchenko, in fact, Belanov was to be taken off and had gone off towards the far touchline. It's almost an opportunity for the ball to come to him. Salenko, who was a substitute against Liverpool, getting ready for another run. Rats. Konchelskis for once on the left-hand side. Banderinia, Andre, only Domingos through the centre for Porto. It's all very well being neat and tidy in midfield, but they've got to find some more penetration here. Kuznetsov bundles down Andre. And now, still they can't make the substitution. Jean Pinto. Oh, and a looping header! But no! Domingos is the disappointed Porto forward. And Keith Makita has disallowed it for a push before he got to the ball on Bal. And I think the replay made that quite clear. So, on comes Salienko, off goes Belanov.
Substitute number 12, Salenko.
But that must be a little scare for Dynamo Kiev. Porto hadn't offered too much in attack. Salienko trying to ruffle a few Porto feathers at the other end of the field. Demal, Andre, João Pinto, Domingos, free kick to Porto. It's asking a lot to make a real grandstand finish at the end of the second game inside 24 hours. João Pinto. Cleared by Rats. Pinto again. Kiki slipped well by Zayats. Salienko, Zayats. They play it right. There's a chance in the offing here for Dynamo Kiev. But they haven't played it right. George Koto. Well played. Andre gave him the support. Pingo trying to move it from left to right. Marito. And it skimmed on, but it was fairly optimistic. This is Sarkisian. Well, Demol got the ball and got the free kick. Marito. And if free kicks are an indication of increasing pressure, Porto are getting more than they have at any time in the game. They've got 5 minutes left to take this third and fourth place game into a penalty shootout. Pinto. Rats certainly deserved the free kick and belatedly got it. Back from Bal. Besanov has given it away to Domingos. Andre. Pingo. George Makita to the left. Sarkisian strong and eager to make an impression. And that's a great pass too. And Dynamo Kiev must get the second one. Rats plays it back. There's still a goal in the offing. Litovchenko. Sarkisian. And Demol looked at the referee. Sarkisian was beseeching him for a penalty. But there were great opportunities to end any doubts when Konchelskis galloped away and very nearly laid a second goal on a plate for Salienko in the middle. And here's Konchelskis back, conceding a corner. Corner to Porto. Fisted away by Zhitkov. 2.5 minutes left. Marito. It's a throw, not a free kick. Kiki. Pinto. Netsov should clear and does, as he was being held by Domingos. Well, I must say some of the offences between the penalty areas are being given with great diligence. It hasn't been the same way inside the penalty areas. Salienko, Konchelskis, Litovchenko. Kisian, there was a handball certainly by Demol. We're into the last minute. Dynamo Kiev, good value for the win. Litovchenko. Rats and Kuznetsov will be aware that time is on the side of the Soviets. Savienko, hoping Konchelskis was behind him. Andre. Backheel to Bandeirinha, but Porto have run out of time. The goal by Konchelskis in the 57th minute has sent Porto to their 7th consecutive defeat in their pre-season games. Dynamo Kiev, who felt harshly treated by the penalty award that turned the match against Liverpool, at least had the consolation of finishing 3rd in the Makita International. And Porto will go home without scoring a goal here in their 2 games, beaten twice, 1-0 by Arsenal and 1-0 here by Dynamo Kiev. There are to be presentations to the 2 teams.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 2 teams now go to the Royal Box to be presented with their medals by Mr. George Yamamoto. Winners of the 3rd place player, Dynamo Kiev.
Oleg Kuznetsov leads Dynamo Kiev up the Wembley steps for the formalities after the match for 3rd and 4th place. Each player will receive a memento of their Wembley weekend. I'm sure even watching in the Soviet Union they'd have seen famous presentations here on FA Cup final days down the years, although the actual area has been redesigned recently, of course. But they'll regard this as a special memory. Belanov with a smile. And speaking to Arsenal fans yesterday, they enjoyed seeing Dynamo Kiev here. And it's an appreciative Wembley audience. And they'll also pay their respects to the 1987 European Cup winners, Porto. João Pinto got his hands on a very famous trophy that night against Bayern Munich, but it's just a consolation prize here, and Porto will have used this as an exercise in their major rebuilding programme. So as far as this tournament is concerned, the pit park players take their leave and the crowd settles down for the main event.